freestall barn was built by my father-in-law in 1977 when he decided to get out of the hog business and to go strictly with dairy. Up until that point, he had milked in tie stalls underneath the old barn. He had 42 cows. The herd had grown and he had more than would fit in the stalls, and I think he was approaching the 80 cow mark when they decided to build this facility. When they built this facility, they built a milking parlor and this freestall barn, and the feeding barn was already there. They were already using that to feed in. We'll come back here a little bit farther. This stall right here marks the end of the original 84 cow barn. And the first barn that was built was much shorter. I think it was about 4 feet shorter. The sides back then were fully enclosed with metal. They had fiberglass panels that opened every other 8 feet that were 4x8s, every other panel across the side of the barn. It did have a open ridge with a cap on it, and that was construction code in 1977. That was top of the line technology. Back then, the exterior wall is where these posts are. These stalls were 7 feet deep. The original stalls were Starline stalls that were concreted into the ground, into the curb. They went up. About 1990 or 91, they started rusting off. They were a double sleeve design, and it took that many years for them to rust off. When they would rust off, I would make sleeves to drive into the ground to hook the stall on and put a bolt in it to get by for a while. Then they started rusting off in the front where we had sawdust piled, and I had to start welding stubs on the ends of those. That went on until about 1995, I believe it was. And that's when we bought these. These were at the time supposed to be the thing to do. Michigan loop, they were called. Allowed a cow to lunge to the side under here. Our problem with cows was getting stuck in the old stalls, and they didn't have enough room to go forward because they are only 7 feet long. So that helped a little bit. I'm trying to think whether it was 2002 or 3 that we just, I need to back up. 1985, I graduated from college. Back then they said that 40 cows could support a family. At that time it was Clyde and his wife and Chuck Porter and his wife, so there were 2 families living off the farm. When I graduated from college in 1985, when we got married, there was going to be a 3rd family. So that's when the last 48 stalls were added to this barn. This back end here was that addition. There's a difference in the concrete, how it was troweled and so forth, but that's the back addition here. It was 1985. Okay, let's get back up to, see, 95. Okay, 95 is when we put the Michigan loops in. And when we put the Michigan loops in, that's when curtain technology was coming about. So we took all the steel off the sides, and we put a curtain at the top that we could crank up. And that helped with ventilation. And at that time, we had 2 pokey box fans we put up toward the front of the barn there just to blow air down on the cows. But the problem with that is cows want to crowd underneath where the air is. So you'd have all the cows in a bunch standing underneath that fan. So let's go forward to about 2002, 2003. The walls, the original posts were treated with a material that lasted. The best material is creosote, which is no longer available. That barn over there was built in 73. It has creosote posts that are solid. This barn was built in 77. It had the treated posts at that time, and they were starting to rot off. When we pulled them out, they looked like carrots. The tips were gone. We salvage what we can around here. We sawed the posts off and made freestall posts out of them. We didn't throw them away. We salvaged a lot of the lumber, but we needed a barn with deeper stalls, higher, lighter, and better ventilated. So what we did is we moved this outside wall out 1.5 feet. And instead of putting wood in the ground, which I'm not a big believer in wood in the ground anymore, it just rots, we have these concrete things called permacolumns. It's a concrete post that goes in the ground with an anchor on top, you slide your post into it and bolt it fast. If I was building post frame today, I wouldn't build anything but that, just because the treatment we have for lumber today is no good. And you'll be lucky to get 10-15 years and your barn will be rotten and falling over. When we tore this barn down, the night before they came, we had about one nail in each sheet, and you could stand on the roof and go like this and shake the whole barn. It was pretty wobbly. K&M Builders came in here in the morning with 5 crews. When I finished feeding cows in the morning about 5:30 or so, they were here at sun up. I backed the trailer up to the side. I went home and ate breakfast and came back. They had all of the roof off. And there was a crane here. They were cutting and lifting trusses off, and they piled them in the pasture out here where we could salvage what lumber we could. Anyway, went to work right away, put posts. They had the outside posts in, the trusses up, and purlins on by noon. Now, to me, that's quite a feat for a barn that's 200 and some feet long, to remove a barn and have a barn up by noon. Those guys are something. It's just like watching locusts. There were guys jumping from truss to truss to truss with chainsaws, cutting old purlins, and the crane guy could hardly get them out of the way fast enough. It was impressive. By evening, they had the frame up, the side screen on, and a roof and moisture barrier on after day 1. And I think the doors were on too. The exterior steel. So back to our original thing here, I digress. Now we have stalls that are 8 feet long. And used to have a problem with sawdust along the outside rotting through the barn, so I cut some of the old lumber and made an angled piece, and every other week I rake my sawdust back. And we have mattresses, which we had before, and a thing called a poly brisket. It's just a little hump here. It's about 6 inches tall. We have problems with cows. Well, first we had problems with cows getting stuck. Before we did this, I visited some barns. Fellow Stan Carmody told me that you'll have cows go forward and get stuck between that freestall post and that wall. They'll get wedged in there. They lost some cows. So we went to Steinway and had them make those little stubs when we put them in there. So that prevented the cows from going forward and getting lodged behind that post. The next thing they did is they stood up behind here and got lodged this way. We actually lost a cow. She got in there and fell and suffocated. So then we put these upper studs on. So now a cow can't go forward and stand up and go sideways. We still had problems with cows getting too far forward, slipping over the brisket board and getting up in here where she couldn't get up. We've been dealing with this for a number of years. It's frustrating to have to get a chain and pull cows back to get them up. We actually lost a really good cow recently, is what really got me upset and got me thinking, we got to do something. I initially thought, well, we'll get different stalls. That would solve, if you had a pipe going this way like that stall behind me, that's for production. That would stop a cow from going under here, but she's still going to go up there. We had to have a way to keep the cow from getting too far forward. So I thought, well, let's look at the cows. I came out and I watched the cows lay down. I saw about where their neck was and resting in the stall. Cow's neck's about 14 to 16 inches off of the floor. So we're putting in brisket boards. This is some old hardwood lumber we got from a farm. They were going to burn it, and we salvaged it. We're putting in brisket boards now. This is hard oak, 2x10, 2x12, and it's set at 14 inches. So now there's a 2 to 4 inch gap between that cow's neck and that board, and they seem to be comfortable. Knock on wood, we have not had one cow stuck. We have not had to pull one cow out in 10 days. And we used to have cows to pull out 3-4 times a week. That side of the barn is done. We did it last Monday. And I am confident that this will solve my problem. Now, if there's any of you viewers out there that are dairy farmers like me that are pulling your hair out, you got cows on the outside wall of the barn, I hope this is helpful. It's been frustrating for us. I hate seeing cows get hurt, suffering. I hate losing cows for something stupid. And as stupid as the fact that what they're laying in is not conducive to their getting up and down. We've got good cows, good genetics. Try to keep the beds bedded up real nice. Have a hoof trimmer come in regularly. We do a foot bath to address the hairy warts. I think our cows are physically in pretty good shape. but it's just the facilities that the older, weaker cows, or sometimes the younger cows, were getting themselves in trouble. So for now, we're doing this. We seem to be solving our problem. I still don't like these. I still think these need to go, but that's $7,000 I don't really have to spend right now. But it can be done. So I don't know if this will be helpful to you or not, but hope you enjoy the video. We're gonna dig some sawdust, cut some wood, and put in some screws. And by noon, I think, we'll be down through that barn, and this job will be done.
Well, we're finishing up now. We just got done putting all the tools away. Lumber's all been cut and installed. So how we were fastening these is we were going down through, and these posts that the freestalls are actually fastened to, we come down here, we'd make a measurement 14 inches up. That'd be the top of our board. And then we'd pre-drill these, because these are oak hardwood 2-inch boards. And we'll run these GRKs through. They're 4.5 inches long. So you got your 2 inches there and 2.5 into there. So they're good and stout. That's what we did all the way down through. We did 3 stalls at a time, so these boards are roughly 12 feet long. The outside we had to do a little different here. This is the outside wall to the front of the barn. Obviously there's not a post here because your freestall's over here. It's not going to be on the outside wall here, so we just had a scrap piece of 6x6 we fastened on the outside using some GRKs coming in, then fastened on the front side just like we did all these other posts down through here. Turned out nice. The other side of the barn's been done for, what, 4 days? The other side of the barn's been done for 4 days? The other side of the barn's been done for what, 4 days roughly?
The other side, a week.
Has it been a week already?
Yeah, it was Monday we did the other side.
Oh, I don't think it's been in long. Well, anyways, the other side's been done for a week. It's been working nice. Everybody seems to have enough lunging room to get in and out. So, nobody's been stuck. This will definitely help. But we're wrapping up now. Got tools packed up. Dad was going down through raking all the sawdust back in because we had to rake it away from the wall. That way we could do our job here. But she's all said and done. I'll pack up and get out of here.
on.
Yep.
Sorry guys, but to me this is more exciting than a new Fendt coming on the farm.
I forgot to grab the camera before we left. It's kind of been a busy past couple weeks here, but this is a Farmall 806 that I found on Facebook Marketplace, and I felt like it was a pretty good buy. We went and checked it out, made a deal with the guy, bought it. She needs a little bit of TLC, but she'll get there. As you've seen in all of our videos, we try to keep our machinery looking pretty nice, so she'll get the works. She'll get cleaned up, sanded up, painted, all that fun stuff. She'll look like a completely different tractor by the time we're done.
All the missing parts restored.
Yeah, she's missing a little bit of sheet metal. I guess there's a little bit of backstory behind that, but it's missing the hood skirt that goes along up here, the front radiator skirt there. It'll be the cover for the intake manifold there, or intake there, and the shielding that goes around on the other side. That white piece you can see right there on the other side is missing. She needs a little bit of stuff, but she's gonna get cleaned up.
Had a lot of interest on the way home by people that asked about it.
Yeah, we had several people. We stopped to get some dinner on the way back. We went up after evening chores here to go get it, so it's a little bit of a late run for us, but ran up, got it, stopped and got something to eat, and a couple people happened to see it on the trailer and had several people stop and ask us about it, so we'll get her cleaned up. But first things first, we'll get it functional. Everything works. I mean, it starts, runs good. The gentleman we bought it off of says PTOs worked. We turn them on and off. Torque doesn't slip. The only thing that's a little bit of a concern is the you know, your high-low range works, but your 1 through 4 for your gear doesn't seem to want to move. But he says he had it moving, and it will move. It just takes a little bit more effort than what it should. So I'm guessing it's probably a rust issue. As you can tell by looking at this thing, I think it has spent a fair amount of time out in the big shed. I mean, the gentleman we bought it off of said that he got it off a guy that kept it in a barn. But
last night out under the stars.
I don't know if you heard him, but he said it has spent its last night outside. But it needs a step, because that to there is a very long distance. But I'm gonna hop off of here, help Dad get chains off. We'll get this thing off the trailer, get the trailer unhooked, and probably call it a day, but this is what we brought home. There's the wife to tell us that we spent way too much money on something that wasn't worth it, but it'll be pretty.
Give us time to work our magic. So he said I don't need the key.
Yeah, it's hot wired to the starter. That drawbar just missed.